Over the last 2 days, 59 new AFL dreams were realised as AFL clubs took the next step towards their premiership success. But how did every club go? That is the question that I'm going to answer for you in this video. Welcome to Daz Talks Footy. Like the video if you like the video. Click that subscribe button if you haven't already. A lot of people have been watching the videos lately. It's very kind of you to do so and to jump on board. But I know that you want to be involved with the Daz Talks Footy family, so hit that subscribe button and stick around. Good things are happening here, and I'm not going anywhere. There are still going to be off-season videos coming after this one. So that's always good too. Click that subscribe button, but let's get into it. Let's go through and rate every club's haul with one little stipulation. I'm not here to give grades. For those that have gone through my draft stuff already, you know that I am not of the opinion that we should be giving any club at the draft a failing grade or any sort of fail. I think at worst, what we can do is ask questions, speculate, wait and see what is going to happen. But my system is simple. If I can understand the strategy of the club, they get a tick. If I genuinely love what your club did, they'll get 2 ticks. If I'm a bit unsure, they'll get a question mark. That's it. How simple is that? Let's get into it. Pros kick things off for us with their stopper in Max Michelani down back coming a bit earlier than I think they would have expected, that being the Crows, of course, and they pick up Dowling and Bond. Now, Dowling and Bond are going to add to a group that are, for Adelaide's sake, hopefully going to add to a midfield that is really one-dimensional and frankly boring at the moment, and that's what they'll be there for. I'm still unconvinced on what Adelaide are doing in terms of their midfield depth here. They've got problems outside of the draft. My gripe with Adelaide isn't their draft haul, it is their list. Those are 2 different things here. They did trade with the Suns to get Dowling, so they obviously rate him highly. Can't wait to see him play. If Fox Footy are telling me he's a comparison to the Bond, I really want to see that. And we'll see how Bond goes, even if he is a touch on the smaller side. But for the Crows, they are the epitome of a wait and see, so I've got to give them a question mark. If every club were trying to play Grand Theft Auto, then Brisbane were that player with San Andreas, who had the cheat codes written down on their little piece of paper as they were playing the game. We know you did that, people at home. We know you did that. But they got Ashcroft, they got Fletcher. That's all they needed to go in and do. That's all they did. We know Ashcroft is going to start pretty much as soon as possible, and once Fletcher is off the back brace, I think he's going to be put on a wing early in his career. I don't think we'll see him throughout March, definitely, but we'll see how he goes from there. So we won't start him in, say, Supercoach teams, for example, but he will be a guy that we bring in earlier. We've paid premiums for pick ones before, and I think Ashcroft is a winner, and how do you not give the Lions a tick here? They came in, got what they needed, and got out. Ollie Holland's pick did look a lock pretty early on, and they got their man, but it was the outside run that the Blues picked up that really took me a little bit by surprise, if I'm being honest. I think getting Lockie Cowan at 30 on talent alone is a simple steal, and I do like the Bins pickup, not really as much as the AFL.com.au guys didn't. Did that even make sense? But they didn't seem that enthused by it. I think Carlton have done really well here. Harry Lemmy is a wait and see. They're going to see what they've got. He's not going to be better than McKay and Curnow, or if he is, Carlton are a literal cheat code. But they're just going to wait and see what they've got with Lemmy, who probably is a Pitone replacement in 4 years' time, if Pitto is what he is in his prime. So as far as I'm concerned, the Blues have done really well here. Even though they did pick up Akers, getting speed on the ball and transitioning from their D50 to forward 50 in the years to come while they've got Curnow and Mackay on their long-term deals, as far as I'm concerned, is the epitome of a tick, and that is what the Blues get. So Ed Allen for the Pies, he's probably not going to play round one, but they're just going to see what they've got with him, which I don't really blame them for. He can play a bit of everywhere, so he needed to go to a club that could trial him in a few different spots and figure out where that is, so I'm all cool with that. The Jacob Ryan pick is just beautiful from the Pies. I've got no qualm with that at all. And Joe Richards, one of the better stories of the draft for the Pies. My qualm with the Pies is they really didn't need to take a midfielder, and they didn't take a tall in this draft at all, and I feel like they needed to. Now, whilst I'm not going to sit here and say they shouldn't have drafted A, B, or C, they should have drafted A, B, or C, because I don't want to eliminate the AFL dream for someone that's just had it realised. That's not really what this channel is about at all. But I know Collingwood fans are frustrated at the lack of talls. Yes, they got McStay. Yes, they got Frampton. I understand that. But there were still talls available at the 40s. There was still picks to be had. The Pies did pass. I feel like they could have just gambled on a tall here. So is this marking harsh? Potentially. Ed Allen could be anything. Jacob Ryan, I think he's going to be a very, very good player. But I'm not sure I can give this a tick when it's not a strategy I fully understand. So for that, the Pies get a question mark. Essendon get their man in the middle with Elijah Sardis. And when Lewis Hayes was still on the board, I remember messaging Smithy, a good friend of the show at the time, saying they will be sprinting with their card to go get Lewis Hayes. And they absolutely did. Him and Zach Reid as the partners for the next 10 years, or for the next England Essendon flag, whichever one comes first. And they pick up the Davey boys in a beautiful, not only family moment, but a beautiful fit as well. Considering Archie Perkins playing a little bit more midfield in the back end of the year, Jake Stringer can push into that midfield. The two Davey boys, along with the returning of Anthony McDonald, Tip and Woody, sets up an extremely dangerous Essendon forward line. If I'm Brad Scott at the moment, I would be absolutely thrilled with what's happening, and congratulations to the Bombers. You have received the first 2-tick grade for the 2022 AFL Draft. Although I mightn't have scouted Hugh Davies as much as I have other players, especially that were around that mark, positionally makes a lot of sense. It seems like all of Freo's key backs do get injured, and yes, Alex Pearce didn't get injured as much this year, Brennan Cox, Luke Ryan, their fitness throughout the year was pretty good in a lot of patches, but at this point, that kind of looks like the anomaly, so I can understand a team in a good position like the Dockers seem to be in to take that punt on a key back, and I love the Max Noble pick. He is the Lloyd Meek replacement and the guy that can develop with Sean Darcy still as the number one ruck, and it also does tell me that Luke Jackson is not going to be used in the ruck pretty much at all in the next 3 years. By the time Jackson hits 24, 25, 26, what he's going to be is not the second ruckman if they truly believe that Noble can develop into something. Now, I don't know too much about Tom Emmett, but again, positionally, small forward, could work out that way, and the return of Corey Wagner to the AFL is a good one. For two genuine ticks and two 50-50s for mine, I am going to give Freo a question mark, which might seem a touch harsh, but it's just a wait and see. The local boy, Jai Clark, ends up at the Cats, and everyone has talked about how good of a fit that will be. But the Phoenix Foster one, although, again, a player that I wasn't all too familiar with, I knew his name and what he did, but in terms of video highlights, there weren't really a lot around and to dissect, but his set shot goal kicking looks really good, pretty decent in the air, and he can develop. In the draft dissection, I did talk about the Cats maybe going after a key position player they can develop, and they've proved me right brilliantly. But how good has the Cats off-season been? Them and Brisbane could have two of like the 3, 4, 5 best off-seasons of all time, and they've happened in the same year. Whether that's good for equalisation or not is not the discussion here. The Cats, 2 picks, 44 apart. What more can you ask for? They get a tick. Gold Coast came in wanting an Isaac Rankin replacement. They had it in Bailey Humphrey. They drafted him. They got him. And whilst I don't know if he plays round 1 or not, the excitement package that he brings can only be a good thing for the Suns. They've got academy kids coming through next year, so I completely understand them only taking the 1 pick. Easiest one of the night, Gold Coast, get a tick. The Giants got their man Aaron Cadman at pick 1, and whilst I am of the opinion that they needed to bid on Ashcroft, make clubs pay up, I can understand it. It's not that big of a deal. They got Harry Ralston way earlier than I think they ever expected, and I think the Phantom Draft had the bid coming at maybe 19 here, so that even would have been a surprise for the Giants. I really, really rate the Darcy Jones pick. I really do. Sometimes you just need talent in the door, and with the gluttony of picks they had, I did start getting worried when they took Max Grzuski, not because of the talent. I love the fit, I love the talent, I love the project that he could bring. He and Cadman could definitely be their tall forwards for the future. I think Sam Taylor and Lee Kalia are going to be their defensive pillars. So whether the Giants know that Hogan is going to be your number 1 forward, Cadman your number 2, and Grzuski is going to play that third tall role, what does that mean for Jake Riccardi? We'll have to wait and find out. I definitely thought they were going to take Ollie Houghton at their last pick, but they ended up with T-Mac. There's a couple of Macs in this draft, but he's a forward 50 player who's going to be dangerous enough for the Giants. So whilst maybe they could have gone with more positional needs with their 3rd, 4th picks, it's still a really good class for the Giants. I am going to give them a tick here. Don't be biased, 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 don't be biased. Whilst the Hawks did leave Mateus Philippou on the table, which as far as the man crush goes, didn't do Daz's night at, well, I'm still happy with Cam Mackenzie. Even some people on Twitter were like, I know you're shattered, and I just hope they don't think that's against Cam Mackenzie. He still fits the Hawthorn structure very well, and he should be in the best 22 pretty quickly. What Hawthorn's best 22 looks like, not in round 1 2023. 23. Round 1 2024 is going to be so interesting. The trade up to get Josh Weddle, I believe, is awesome. 192 centimetre player, and I definitely think Hawthorn did not expect Henry Huswaite to be on the board when they moved up in the draft. I think they kind of looked at this as like we'll definitely take 2 190 centimetre guys. I think they thought they were only going to get one, but Weddle is your X factor, your burn. He'll burn you with disposal and his meters gained. Henry Huswaite will burn you with his skills. Whilst he may not have the pace, his movement around the ground and his footy IQ more than makes up for the fact that he doesn't have ground-breaking speed. I don't know a lot about Jack O'Sullivan, but he looks nice in the hips. He doesn't get tackled all that often, and he's got some nice vision. And whilst Bailey McDonald doesn't really fit the mould of the Hawks positionally, again, more speed on the ball, more direct attack, and Sam Mitchell's game plan is coming to fruition. If you are not getting the ball and moving it forward with direct overlap run, there is no place for you in the side if you also can't kick the footy. So there are going to be some massive overhauls at the Hawks next year too, as some guys are definitely fighting for their career. The other thing I want to say about the Hawks, because Hawthorn fans clearly aren't understanding this, is they're going to get Will McCabe in the teens next year, it looks like. So the fact that the Hawks have picked up 2 first-rounders this year, Henry Huswaite, who was touted as a top 25 pick by a lot of people, Bailey McDonald, who was top 40, and we got him at 51, and we're going to get 2 first-round picks next year, even though after that, it's not going to be much unless we can trade in some assets from 2024. This is a good thing, Hawthorn fans. Hawthorn are in really good shape at the moment in terms of youth. Could it be a bad year next year? Potentially. But anyone that can complain about this draft, I don't think just understands it enough. Trust me, this is a very good thing for the Hawks, and they definitely deserve that tick. Remember how I said Collingwood were a little bit afraid to develop talls? Well, when you're as good as Melbourne are, you can afford to do that. 2 picks, a full forward and a full back. How good. Everyone here should know how much of a Matty Jefferson fan I am, and whilst I'd only watched about 40 seconds of Jed, we're just going to have to wait and see for him. Yes, they've got May, they've got Lever, they've got Petty, and I'm pretty sure Adam Tomlinson is still at the Demons. Why do you get Adams? Because they don't need win-now pieces. This is how you draft when you're a good team. So whilst, yes, development means wait and see, call me crazy, and if it breaks my own rules, well, it's my video. So, please live with it a little bit. Melbourne are getting a tick. Sheasel and Wardlaw were as big a locks as Ashcroft going to Brisbane, it seemed, even 2 months out from the AFL draft. Picked them both up, tick along the way, which is beautiful for North Melbourne. The fact that Braden George was still on the board at their pick was extraordinary, and they pounced. We won't see him much throughout 2023, but if you're telling me that round 1, 2024, North Melbourne's forward line is going to contain Paul Curtis, Cameron Zurhaar, Harry Sheasel, and Braden George, holy crap. North fans, please get excited, and the welcoming of Cooper Harvey is only a good thing, who again can rotate through that half-forward midfield role. The youth at North is exciting. What Clarko does with it is doubly exciting. They just need another tall to help out Nick Larkey, whether it is Combin or they go to next year's draft and finally take a key forward, we don't know, but North are another recipient of 2 ticks. Port Adelaide have potentially the funniest draft haul to me, and it's only funny because the order of the likability, in my opinion, of their picks is the complete reverse order. Kyle Marshall, key back. Lord knows they need one, and I do think James Van Ness was on their board before the Saints picked him up, so they knew they had Marshall stashed away, so that's fine. They picked up Scully because they know they're going to need a bigger body in a post-Charlie Dixon world. Now, he's not that bigger body yet. Don't get it confused, but he, Marshall, and Georgiades are going to form a 3-pronged forward line with Junior Rioli still there, and they're going to get another couple of pieces. One of Rosie or Butters will be down there, and I still think they need another genuine small forward threat, unless I'm just blanking on who that is. They probably do need to draft another one. I think Port have done really well here. I don't know too much about McCallum, but we'll see how he goes. For mine, Port couldn't have done much better than what they did with their 3 picks. However, we're not really going to know how good their draft haul is. I'm just going to lean towards a question mark. Probably the stiffest one of the bunch. Positionally, do Richmond really need another halfback flanker and a small midfielder? I don't think so. Caleb Smith's talent, I think, deserved a little bit higher up the draft board than where Richmond got him at. But overall, I think Richmond just took their 2 favourite kids here. So I'm not really going to give them any stick for it. But given that I can't see these 2 breaking into Richmond's side without injuries or resting blokes, they're going to get the mark for me that is just befuddlement almost. But it is a question mark for the Tigers. But their list was fine before the draft, so if they can get a winner out of these 2 or 2, they're going to be absolutely fine and flying, but they're already flying, so that's the Tigers, a question mark. So throughout the video, I've given you my analysis and then the mark, but I'm calling it here. I'm calling it right here. St Kilda had the best draft haul of this draft. Philippou solves their X-factor problem in the midfield. Now, of course, this is if they develop into what we think they're going to be. There are going to be flops in this draft, and by no means do I think that that's going to be Mateus, but that's the optimism that we need to talk about straight after the draft. So if you're sitting there going, he might not Daz, he might not do this, he might not do that about any of these players, kill me for being an optimist, but it's as simple as that. James Van Ness, they get the centre-half back. They didn't get sucked into the trap of taking Cordy, so they thought their problems were solved. And even though they've got Oscar Adams down there, you can't really have too many defenders. Ollie Houghton, one of the real sliders of this draft, and they pick him up to be a big threat inside the 50. I think Kobe Burgell might have been their man, but the Eagles swooped in and got him about 6 picks beforehand. But Houghton to the Saints was just magical, and Isaac Keeler getting to 44 and replacing Paddy Ryder is just golden. His tap work is nice. I know I had him in a complete video where he went in the first round, so he definitely slid from at that time of recording from where I had him at. I did kind of consign myself to the fact that he was going to fall. I didn't really expect him to fall to 44, but the Saints have picked up a ripper here. If you're a St Kilda fan and you're feeling anything pessimistic about this draft haul, go to therapy. But not only do they get 2 ticks, they probably deserve 3. I believe it's the best haul of the draft. Well, didn't the Swans shake things up on day 1, trading with the Hawks to get pick 27? and causing some bids as well, which was quite the kerfuffle on day one. And then sticking it up the Hawks, if you want to believe that, by taking their next generation academy player, Cooper Vickery, at 27, which was, if we can use the NFL term, a massive reach in terms of where people thought Vickery was going to go in the draft. Now, the Swans truly believe that pace on the ball is going to help them, which is what Vickery does provide, and Caleb Mitchell on the wing is going to provide them with some outside class. My qualm with the Swans here is they drafted what they already had with those two. Now, Jacob Constantine is going to be a stay-at-home forward, and once he develops into his AFL body, or AFL-ready body, I should say, then Tom Papley is going to be able to go into the midfield a bit more, so that is going to help, especially when you've got Mills, Parker, who are your two-way midfielders, so he is going to help them with that point of difference there. The Constantine pick for mine, smacked it out of the park. Vickery and Mitchell were reaches. The Swans are in a really good place, but with guys like Campbell, with guys like Stevens, Blakey, these two did cause me to go, interesting. So for that, the Swans are going to get a question mark, but there's no doubt they've hit on drafts before, and they'll probably get a couple of winners here. Well, didn't West Coast draft for need? Their midfield is abominable. So they picked up two midfielders in Jinby and Hewitt, both local boys. You're going to need a Nick Nat replacement. We're not sure about Jameson and Bailey Williams. Oh, okay. We'll get the best ruckman in the draft in Harry Barnett. Oh, awesome. Your connection between the midfield and the forward 50 was really struggling. You won't be able to hit your tall forwards on the chest that much or creating a good contest. Oh, okay. Kobe Burgell, one of the best users in the forward half in the draft. We'll pick him up. And late in the draft, people are passing. Why not take a natural talent who can bring Optus Stadium to its feet on his day, that being Noah Long? The Eagles, there's no doubt, sucked last year. Their draft hand was very good, and they capitalised. Again, if you're feeling pessimistic about this and you're a West Coast fan, head along to the St Kilda fans, go to therapy and figure it out. This was an awesome draft haul. They're getting 2 ticks, and although it mightn't be a premiership year for the Eagles next year, you should be really happy about the youth your club's just pulled in. Last but not least, the Doggies. Can you imagine Jed Buslinger and Sam Darcy as your 2 key pillars in the next 10 years? Cody Waitman needed a hand in the forward line, and they got Charlie Clark. A little bit surprised they didn't go with Braden George, but that does tell me they think Charlie Clark can play in 2023, and for you fantasy players out there, that is going to be an important thing to take note of. But, of course, this is Luke Beveridge we're talking about, who can do weird things with selection. So maybe go with some caution there. Those two are a tick. Harvey Gallagher finds the footy and is a metres gained kind of player. But the Bulldogs at that pick were taking the best kid on the board. I like the fact with Lockie Hunter going, they found someone who can roll on the outside, especially with Josh Dunkley not there. They could potentially rotate Bailey Smith and Adam Treloar in the midfield and on a wing, and he might occupy another. In a year or two, we'll see how he goes. I don't think the Dogs could have done any better given their choices, so I've given them a tick. So there it is, guys. Hope you enjoy. What do you think? Comment below. Let me know. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Things are coming in December. Might not be as frequently, but I'm going to hopefully up the video production. Got some things that I want to try. So that is going to be fun throughout December. I know the cricketing public really hate the Australian cricket team at the moment, but I'm pumped for Test cricket being back, so I'm looking forward to that as well. I hope you have a fantastic week. If you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at ReeseKnight8. And other than that, enjoy your week. Take care of each other. Take care of yourselves. Goodbye.